Good afternoon, everyone. I hope this presentation finds you and your relatives well. I am Roderick Fanou and I have the privilege to present you this work entitled Unintended Consequences, Effects of Submarine Cable Deployment on Internet Routing. It was done in collaboration with Bradley Huffaker, Ricky Mock, and Casey Claffey, and all of us are affiliated to CAIDA UC San Diego. Let's get started. The underlying physical infrastructure of the Internet includes a mesh of submarine cables generally shared by network operators who purchase capacity from the cable owners. As of early 2020, over 400 submarine cables interconnect diverse continents worldwide and constitute the backbone of the Internet. Although they carry more than 99% of international traffic, little academic research has been done to isolate the end-to-end performance changes induced by their launch. In this context, Angola Cables deployed the first transatlantic undersea cable, SACS, crossing the southern hemisphere mid-September 2018. The said cable links Fortaleza in Brazil, South America, to Sangano in Angola, Africa. It measures 6,165 kilometers in length and has been designed with 4 fiber pairs, offering a total capacity of 40 terabytes per second between Brazil and Angola. Several press releases underlined the launch of the said cable and the expected effects on end-to-end latencies or access to content. Some of them reported dramatic expected performance improvement. From these articles, we enumerated 3 claims which attempted to quantify these changes in end-to-end performance. These are that of Angola and Oracle Dean, who highlighted that latencies between servers in Brazil and Angola decreased from 300 milliseconds to 100 milliseconds, and that latencies to Angola from other locations outside Brazil also experienced improvement. Besides, we had Bradley Pryor, who highlighted that SACS reduced latency to the Americas substantially, including a reduction from 338 milliseconds to 163 milliseconds between Cape Town and Miami. We thus look forward to answering the following questions in this study. Can we scientifically study the macroscopic effect of a cable launch on AS topology and end-to-end performance? Does performance improve for all regions using the new cable? And finally, do AS paths connecting those regions shorten? Answering these questions comes with challenges which we translated into a set of tasks or objectives. The initial challenge is to identify the cable of interest using IP layer traceroute measurements. Indeed, transit providers often do not publicly disclose cable details, for instance, IP addresses on both sides of the cable, and existing measurement techniques cannot easily distinguish multiple co-terminating parallel cable systems. We then needed to figure out which IP or AS paths cross the cable before finding out which effects crossing the cable had on path and latencies between linked countries and those from and destined to different regions. Toward this goal, our methodology consisted of collecting candidate IP paths that could have crossed the cable, identifying router IP interfaces on both sides of the said cable, then searching for comparable traceroute in historical datasets before annotating collected paths with necessary information for the analysis. As far as datasets are concerned, we decided to use CAIDA's ARC and RIPE Atlas measurement platforms. For geolocation purposes, we adopted NetAcuity combined with hostname-based geolocation, and for more topology information, we used CAIDA's MIDAR, Vela Alias, and ITDK, the macroscopic Internet topology dataset kit, to which we added CAIDA's Internet Exchange Point dataset. The first step of our methodology consists of collecting candidate IP path crossing SACS. We begin by collecting all detailed information about SACS and its launch. Let's consider the figure on the slide. In fact, AS37468 is that of Angola Cables, who has its pubs not only in Brazil but also in Angola. So we collected information such as the date of the launch of the cable, the duration of the launch, and the length of the cable, and so on and so forth. We then selected all vantage points, ARC or RIPE Atlas, which are in both connecting countries and as close as possible topologically to the link. We found out that in Brazil, there were several RIPE Atlas and ARC deployed, while there were none in Angola. Instead, in Angola, we found out that Angola Cables had a looking glass which was up and available for running traceroute measurements. Using those vantage points, we then run traceroute in both directions in order to obtain candidate IP paths that could have crossed the link. The next step of our methodology consists of identifying link IPs on both sides of the cable. To achieve this, we computed a threshold T that is 2 times L, the length of the cable, over 2/3 of C, with 2/3 of C the speed of light traveling fiber optics. If we consider the first candidate path, going from AC's looking glass towards a vantage point POA-BR located in Brazil, we found out that the differential RTT between the two first hops is as close as possible to the threshold T that we just computed. We also found out that the hostname of the first hop is hinting an IP located in Angola, while the hostnames of the third and the fourth hop hinted the location of the IP in Brazil. We deduced that those IPs, the two first IPs, are likely matching the landing sites of the cable. Similarly, if we consider the traceroute that we run from our probes POA-BR in Brazil towards the AC looking glass and March 2019, we found out that the differential RTT between the hops 14 and 15 is really close to our threshold T. We also noticed that host names of the IP hop 12, 13, and 14 hinted the IPs in Brazil, while hops 16 and 17 had their host names hinting IPs in Angola. We deduced that IPs on both sides of the cable are likely 14 and 15. We then needed to validate these IPs' geolocation. We combined, to this end, NetAcuity database to hostname-based geolocation, and we run RTT measurement to check if minimum RTTs towards each IP is lower than 10 milliseconds from vantage points in inferred countries. Moving forward, we found the link IPs by resolving the selected IPs, routers, aliases using KDAS MIDAR, VELA alias, and ITDK. We obtained two lists of IPs, R Angola and R Brazil, which we called link IPs. We then used these link IPs in order to fetch matching trace routes from historical topology datasets. We indeed fetch every trace post-SACS which had an IP in R Angola followed by an IP in R Brazil or vice versa, making sure that the delta RTT between those IP hops is at least the threshold T. We then collected all the traces between the same source IP, destination prefix pairs, pre-SACS, splitting these historical datasets into two sets. The first one, before SACS, goes from beginning January 2018 to mid-September 2018, and the period after SACS went from mid-September 2018 to late January 2019. Next, we annotated our datasets with supplementary information. For every IP hop, we added the S number, the router hostname, the geolocation information, and specified whether or not the IP belongs to an IXP prefix, and if yes, we specified the IXP name. After that, we grouped both sets of traceroutes, post and pre-SACS, and the annotation per week using the timestamp of execution. After that, we started our analysis by the comparison of RTTs before and after SACS. The challenge here is to be able to find a set of common IP hops in the traces before and after SACS, which we could use as point of comparisons. To achieve this, we looked into all traces post-SACS for a given source and destination pair, for the most common IP hop, HC, which is the closest possible to the destination IP. We extract from the traces RTTs from the source of the trace route towards HC for not only trace route post-SACS, but also trace route pre-SACS. We ignore all cases in which HC is null. Using these RTT values, we then plot box plot of the minimum RTTs from all our vantage points to the common IP hops closest to the destination IPs. We clustered these values depending on the measurement platform on which they were registered, RIPE-Atlas above and ARC below, but also depending on the regions in which are located the vantage points sourcing the trace route. On these figures, for every box plot, the red line represents the median RTT, the line below the 25th percentile, and that above the 75th percentile. The interquartile range is obtained by doing the difference between the 75th and the 25th percentile and highlights the variance of the RTT values over time. Overall, SACS had little impact on latencies from all vantage points to all destination prefixes. Interestingly, paths from South America experienced a median RTT decrease of 38%, which was quite significant compared to those from Oceania, Australia, with a smaller decrease of 8%, while those from Africa and North America, roughly 3%. Conversely, paths from Europe and Asia that crossed SACS after its deployment experienced an average RTT increase of 40% and 9% respectively. We then investigated RTT changes at the country level, computing the delta RTT after minus before of the medians of minimum RTTs per week, pre and post SACS, for observed source IP destination prefix pairs. On this heat map, we have on the x-axis the locations of the probes, ARC and RIPE-Atlas pairs, which we clustered depending on the regions in which they are located. We have on the y-axis the inferred countries of the destination prefixes. Each cell contains the number of observed SZ pairs and is colored according to the delta RTT. A gray cell means that data is not available. This heat map presents some predictable performance improvements. The highest performance improvements are from South America to South Africa or Angola. However, we only saw a third of such improvements from Africa to Brazil, which correspond to a drop of 73 milliseconds, that is 21%. In fact, our data confirm claims of Angola Cables and Orad Koldin, who suggested that latencies between servers in Brazil and Angola decreased from 300 to 100 milliseconds, and claim from Pryor, who highlighted that SACS reduced latencies to the Americas substantially, including a reduction from 338 milliseconds to 163 milliseconds between Cape Town and Miami. However, it is important to underline the asymmetrical RTT reduction on both sides of SACS. In the meantime, the heat map highlights some unpredicted performance degradation. The worst RTT degradations are indeed from Africa to Angola or North America to Brazil. We also saw packets routed through SACS for pairs such as Europe to Angola, which led to latency increase. After that, we look into the transit structure of the path in our dataset. A higher centrality of an AS post-event will indicate an increase in transit importance. Knowing that, we mapped all IP paths in our dataset into AS paths using border mapping. We then computed the AS centrality of each AS in our dataset as the percentage of observed source and destination pairs for which the AS path with the minimum observed RTT contain the considered AS, with the CDS being neither the source nor the destination of the AS. This figure highlights partial AS paths from South America to Angola, cases in which we had an observed RTT improvement. Note that the white ovals inside Angola cables are part of traceroute post-SACS, which we manually geolocated using hints in hostnames. Before using SACS, paths between 46% of SZippers crossed Europe and then Angola via ACIS network. SACS provided to all measured SZippers a more direct path between these two continents and improved performance. And as a consequence, we have the median RTT of IP paths via AS 37468, which decreased from 346 to 160 milliseconds. Then we consider, as a showcase, partial paths from Europe to Angola, case in which we had observed RTT degradation. Note that AC was the major transit provider for traffic from Europe to Angola throughout the entire period of the study. However, the use of SACS within AC significantly lengthened the physical path and thus the latency on the forward path. As a consequence, the median RTT of IP paths via AS37468 increased from 156 milliseconds to 259 milliseconds. We then looked into the country level path, plotting this figure which illustrates how after SACS, a high proportion of observed paths for certain continent destination country pairs followed circuitous paths within ACIS network, crossing the sea multiple times. We use the same color to code stages from 1 to 6, regardless of the subfigure. We first considered the case from Africa to Angola, where we noticed a high RTT increase. In fact, we found that in this case, at least 55% of SZippers crossing SACS went through South Africa, that is Johannesburg or Cape Town, to reach the POPs of Angola cables, within which the packets were routed through Europe, North America, Fortaleza, before reaching the destination. For packets going from North America to Brazil, we found that most of them were routed through Europe or Asia, South Africa, and Angola before reaching the destination. Note the existence of a link from South Africa to Angola within AC, which makes the previous case even more curious. We then analyzed IP path going from Europe to Angola and found that most of them went through North America, Fortaleza, and crossed SACS before reaching the destination. As far as paths going from South America to Angola are concerned, we found that all observed IP paths in this category directly cross SACS to reach the destinations, which explained the fact that RTTs in this case improved. We then compared AS path lengths between source AS and destination prefix pairs crossing the cable operator's network in BGP pre and post event. To achieve this, we considered all AS paths collected during the first 5 days of the month pre and that post event. We filtered out all AS paths crossing AS37468 post event, identified the corresponding SZippers, and extracted all AS paths between the same SZippers pre-event. We then used this data to plot the distribution of the AS path length, which shows the increase of the path of length 2 to 7. This reflects the fact that more neighboring ASCs preferred AS paths via Angola cables, network after the SACS launch. In July 2019, we then validated our results with the IXP. Angola Cables identified cases where the suboptimality happened outside of the network. These correspond to cases where there is a lack of local peering, or cases in which some ASCs routed traffic through AC's network, although it is not the optimal path to the destination. Although AC did not validate any of the suboptimal cases observed within the network, we noticed that most of the observed IP paths switched to optimal ones after our conversation. We then enumerated some potential root causes of these unintended consequences. These could have occurred concurrently or not, and could be a problematic intra-domain routing within a single AS, a slow IGP or EGP convergence, the lack of traffic engineering after an event occurring in a neighboring AS, the persistent lack of peering among local ASCs in Africa, or the frequent use of default routes via international transit providers in developing regions. Angola Cables also noted that most traffic crossing SACS through its networks goes from South America to Angola or South Africa to Brazil, the region pairs that experienced substantial performance improvement according to our datasets. They also highlighted that they received no complaints from their customers, hinting a low amount of traffic carried on those routes, but those suboptimal routes lasted 3.5 months after SACS launch. In conclusion, this work makes 3 contributions. First, we introduced a reproducible method to investigate the impact of a cable launch deployment on the macroscopic internet topology and performance, and then we applied the said methodology to the case of SACS, the first South Atlantic cable from South America to Africa. We discovered that there is an asymmetric RTT reduction on both sides of the cable, since the RTT decrease from Africa to Brazil was roughly a third of that from South America to Angola. We also discovered surprising performance degradation to and from some regions. Next, we suggested some guidelines to avoid suboptimal routing post-activation of cables in the future. ASCs could inform their BGP neighbors to allow time for appropriate changes, ensure optimal iBGP configurations post-activation, and use measurement platform or even collaborate with research institutions to verify path optimality. We note that Bischoff et al. Underlined in 2018 the need to undertake research for characterizing the global submarine cable network. We agree with this viewpoint and presented in this paper a step in this direction. To allow reproducibility of our work, we make our code and data available on GitHub. Thank you for your attention. We are always looking for volunteers to host our Vantage Points, and I look forward to receiving your questions.